Board is absent. Mr. Lumsden.
Here. Communications, Mr. Clerk, do you have any?
I do not.
Okay, moving on to item number 4, open forum. Guests shall speak in an orderly fashion and are limited to remarks of 5 minutes or less. The speaker shall deliver their comments or concerns in a civil tone and without the use of profanity or personal attacks or disruptive behavior. The speaker shall not be interrupted except in a matter of urgency. Would anyone like to speak tonight? Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir. Yes, if you would mind. Or you can stand at that speaker too, whatever your choice. Okay. Okay.
Good evening, members of the town board, elected officials, and fellow community members. We are Mike and Debbie King, longtime Shenango Bridge residents. We're not here to create a conflict or fight the town of Shenango. We appreciate the time and efforts each of you dedicate to serving our community. What we're asking for is fairness and your understanding of how your proposed project and erecting above-ground structures on our residential property at 60 Wisconsin Drive is deeply devaluing the property, resulting in our personal financial demise. We've not only invested financially as property owners, but we have invested our whole lives in the Shenango Bridge community. My dad was the high school principal, and both my parents were community volunteers for many years. Our family lived on a little house on Ellen Street, and when my dad passed, Debbie and I purchased the home from my mom. We raised our 5 children there, volunteering for over 30 years in the community association and in our children's Shenango Valley schools. In 2005, we purchased the land on Wisconsin from the Turna and Malonis families, hoping to build a home for our growing family. Soon after purchasing, our assessment was tripled by the town. We went ahead with having the land surveyed for building, estimates drawn up for a modest home, but our dream died when we realized that we could never pay the proposed new home taxes. Sadly, we knew we had to sell the land to someone who could better afford to build it. Unfortunately, every time we showed the land to a prospective buyer, they were no longer interested after seeing the unsightly water meter panel in the middle frontage of the property. The current structure, as well as any proposed further projects and structures, have detrimental negative impact to the property value to us and to any potential buyers, as well as the current homeowners and community members on this residential street. In 2021, then Supervisor Joanne Klenevich brought a permanent sewer and access easement and right-of-ways contract to our home and requested we sign it and hand over our property to the town of Shenango. We politely declined, and our attorney sent a letter reiterating that our rights as property owners should be respected. Since then, we've heard from the town's attorney that the town doesn't need an easement in this property deed, and it is considered a right-of-way to the town. How can this be? The role of town government is to serve the community by ensuring public services, resources, and decision-making processes that are delivered in a fair, transparent, and accountable manner. Fairness and transparency build trust between citizens and their local government, promoting community involvement and effective governance. While infrastructure improvements may be necessary, these particular actions and a proposed project on our residential property is a direct personal cost to us and our family. The Town of Shenango Building Code mission statement reads, to provide our citizens with the highest quality of service and to uphold and enforce codes and standards established to protect the public health, safety, and welfare of all residents, business owners, and visitors. Courtesy and professionalism will serve as the guiding principles to the town of Shenango. We are not being treated with courtesy while you take your property from us for your use. Should Deb and Mike King have to donate our personal property at a significant financial loss to the town of Shenango? Must we suffer detrimental financial loss when the only ones who have rights on this property are the town of Shenango? This project deeply diminishes the value of our property to us and to any potential buyers and the neighbors, while the town of Shenango receives the graded added value in using this property for their needs and specifications. We are respectfully requesting that the town either cease all operations on this residential property or purchase the land for the town's own use at exactly what we have invested in it, purchase price, taxes paid, and incurred fees. I don't think anyone in this room would agree that our family should have to suffer emotionally or financially while being forced to donate our property for the town's goals. Again, this is not our wish to have a conflict with anyone. We're here to ask for fairness, respect, and for us as community members and tax-paying property owners. We hope the board will act accordingly. We thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to speak? Yes, Joy.
on behalf of CRS. We need a floodplain manager for the town. I know it's a difficult time right now, but we have a May 1st tomorrow deadline to get things signed, and I don't have anybody to sign it. I respectfully request the board, although it's not something you like to do, if you could just appoint someone by motion so I can get this done, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to speak? I see a hand way in the back there. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
My name is Sarah Couchman. I'm just here to voice a few concerns about the property here to your right or left that would like to be turned from agricultural to commercial. I think it poses a big problem in the area, in the community, if we continue to take agricultural property and make it commercial, if you and we all are aware of the commercial properties that we have down Front Street all the way down to McDonald's that could potentially house this commercial business, and these properties are already established as commercial. I think it's important to consider all of the things that a commercial property is going to do to change an agricultural property to make it happen. If we continue to move Front Street down this way, it's gonna affect all of our property values that way, and it's just going to extend Front Street and make that many more vacant properties that, don't already have a home. So I just wanted to voice that, and hopefully you guys consider all the things that, it will affect, and all of the vacant properties that are already down Front Street that could have been purchased by Bodek to put their commercial property that already exists. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? I thought, you good in the back? I can just, there you go. You're good? Okay. All right. Hearing no other people wanting to speak, we're gonna move on. Old business, 5.1, wastewater treatment plant update. Mr. Burden.
Wow, that's loud. As you see, Bartlett and Judas, sorry.
Don't stretch out your cord. When your cord is wrapped up, it creates a problem, they say.
His is turned way up. Mine's turned way up. So I'll leave it right there. As you see that they sent out a change order for, is that loud?
Now you're, go
For
ahead.
inspectors. Currently, we're without a inspector on the pipeline job. That used up all the allowance for that particular funding. So as you see, there's a change order there to allocate some funding through the excess money in the project to get a new inspector for that particular part.
Questions for Mr. Burden?
Basically, the drilling went over time frame that it was actually scheduled for. So the money allotted for that particular inspector was used up. So now we're currently only have one inspector for the project at the plant, and they're jumping back and forth, working out in the field as well for the pipeline project. P&L is suggesting that we should have a full-time inspector on for the pipeline job.
Greg, did we have a full-time inspector on for the initial part of the contract, initial
Yes.
phase?
Yep.
Did that inspector, do they file any reports? Does that go to Barton or Judas?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
do you see any of those?
We see them. We see them in the monthly meetings when we supply that to the town board.
Okay, so those reports are daily logs, weekly?
Daily logs.
They're
that
daily
the
logs and
inspector gives
they're
them.
in the agenda?
They're not in this agenda because the inspector for that project hasn't been on since.
What would be the scope of work, and I don't wanna drag this out, Mike, but what would be the scope of the work for an inspector? And here's my concern. I've only had a small sampling of going around and seeing some of the work that was done, and I have some real concerns that we're not getting what we're paying for in terms of workmanship and quality. One of the things that I think we should be really good at is being a good neighbor. and we haven't been in terms of our housekeeping around some of these sites.
Correct.
So I'd like to see what was reported and what corrective actions had been taken, if any, to that contractor to make some of those areas, you know, repairable. We've got a report in here because a concerned citizen called, and Mike and I went out and looked at some of this, and now we've got a repair to do with them because they weren't done appropriately. And I'm just concerned, you know, what are the qualifications? What's this inspector doing? It says he's out there full-time. I'm not sure what that means. Is that 30 hours a week, 40, 50 hours a week? I'd like to see a little bit more detail on that, Mike, before I would vote on anything to approve a change order.
So I'll reach out to the engineers and have them supply that information for you.
Well, Greg or Nate, maybe this is more for Nate. My point is, the town taxpayers have paid for an inspector for the drilling upriver road. And because the contractor, for whatever reason, didn't do that work, and the inspector was coming down and the contractor wasn't on site, it seems like Bartlett Judas was still billing us for the inspector to be here doing nothing. And I wanna know, in the contract, I don't understand, to me, looking at it, it's either the responsibility of Bartlett Judas or the contractor. Why should the taxpayers have to pay for those delays that we did not cause for an inspector? And now we're between a rock and a hard place. We have to spend more taxpayer money to make sure the contractor is doing a good job when there's been issues. So what are our choices here?
Yeah, so I mean, I think you're right. Part of the issue is the contractor wasn't proceeding with the work when the building inspector was on the job site. And so, I mean, that building inspector, of course, was hired to be down here. Your valid question to ask, given the issues that were known, why didn't the engineer flag those things? I mean, you're absolutely right. It sounds like it should be either the contractor or the engineer's responsibility. Now, separately though, the building inspector's contract will always be with us. And so you will always have a change order that authorizes additional monies for this service. It's a separate question of now turning around and saying to either Barton and LaJudas or the contractor, here's the bill, pay it. And then we'll, you know, get in a fight with them.
The other thing too is the timing of this is really questionable. You know, we've gone through the winter months, construction season had passed. They haven't done any work, so they must have been out of hours at the end of last season. And we're hearing about it now.
This has been on the agenda before, and it actually got either overlooked or pushed back. So
It
this
was.
has
Okay.
been on before. This isn't the first time this has been on. We've supplied this,
This is the first time I've seen the dollar
right,
amount.
no, a couple months ago.
Well, we
like-
didn't have the dollar amount, but we were told that they had burned up all the money for the inspector last fall, and we've
Fair
been
enough.
crying about it.
Fair enough, but I'd like to see kind of what the metrics are of
Me
what
too.
this inspector is actually looking at.
And how to prevent the same thing from not happening again. Why are you sending an inspector if the contractor isn't working that day?
So are we being billed for the amount of time? Whether, like, that ties in what you're saying here, whether they're working or not? Like, are we paying for 6 or 8 months? We're paying that no matter what, if they show up or not? Or are we being paid by the hour that they're actually on the job?
If they're getting paid by the hour they were on the job, if the inspector and the contractor didn't communicate together properly, when it was a day that the contractor was not there and the inspector showed up, we still got billed because he was there.
Because I just see they're asking for what, $250,000 bucks?
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing. There.
Dave, that goes back to Mike's questioning,
Right.
well, where was the coordination of this service? And it seems to have been lacking.
So I'm just saying we should go back and not pay for what, the days they didn't show up last year.
That will have to be a part of the discussion with the engineer, you know, and I mean, there needs to be, like, that needs to be raised as an issue, and I'm not sure, I mean, it sounds like you guys wanna do that, so we need to follow the contract procedures for initiating a discussion with the engineering firm about this.
But at this point, we're between a rock and a hard place. We gotta have an inspector
You are always
there.
gonna have to pay this inspection fee.
Right.
It's just a question of whether or not you get reimbursed for it
Reimbursed
out
for it or
of,
not.
you know, future funds to be paid to somebody.
I just want to make sure going forward that we're keeping track of it. If this inspector comes down and the contractor's not there, I mean, how many times are we gonna do that
Right.
going forward? Cause I have a feeling it's gonna happen many more times.
I'm not disagreeing with that part of it at all.
So how do we keep track of that? Other than Barton Lejudas telling us?
I or myself or somebody else will have to be on the job daily to make sure that they are coordinated properly.
Does the inspector work for us?
The inspector works for B and L, I believe.
Right. There's
So it would
some-
have to
there's
go-
some to B and L.
Yeah.
So B and L was controlling
Yeah.
it all, coordinating it.
Allegedly.
Should have been.
So we should be able to get some type of document, some type of report from B and L.
Do you folks want a letter sent to them saying, you know, the town board is questioning this and the services provided and the lack of coordination, and we're asking for a meeting and, you know, try to, yes, okay.
I agree with
I'm
that.
thinking in a way, we already paid for it. For the
Well,
lack
you
of what,
did, Dave.
for what
Yeah,
the
we
lack they
did.
did last year,
Yeah.
we've already paid for next year, or this year.
Yeah, one thing we don't wanna do is hold up inspections.
Yeah,
No,
that's
that
what
have to-
I'm concerned about, is holding this up.
Right.
Have they started, Greg?
They have not started drilling. They have started mobilization, setting up the pad.
Do
As
we,
of this morning, the drill rig was not there yet.
do we have a schedule from them?
There's a
Does
schedule
B&L
that
have
they,
a s-
yeah, they provide schedules, and I believe it's in here as well. They provided schedules right on through. It was weather dependent with the drill rig.
Understood.
Mike, I don't know if it's in here.
I'm
Oh, it's not,
looking.
this is not a report, I apologize. This was just a change
Right.
order from Barton Lejudas.
Right.
So it's usually in their report that they provide,
From B and L?
yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, what do we need to do? Do we need to approve?
We
this
gotta
change order?
approve
Yeah.
the change order.
I would recommend approving the change order, you know, understanding that you're reserving your rights to, you know, claim against either the contractor or the engineer for failure to provide services in the past. You know, this is not any approval of the past issues that have gone on. And then I will send correspondence to Leeson Gleason saying, town board has expressed some significant concerns about this. We need to talk. And I don't know whom of you, Jay, you might, sound like you might be a knowledgeable person in this
I
area.
volunteer.
That would be
Thank you.
fantastic.
Fantastic.
And then, I don't know if, you know, Mike or Gene, if either one of you would be.
Gene would be,
I-
he knows
Yeah,
that stuff
absolutely.
very
Right.
well.
So I will tap, since Gene's not here, he's it.
We're gonna nominate him.
Okay, okay, I will loop you two in to the eventual conversation we have.
Okay?
All right, do we need a motion to approve this change order, or is it in the resolutions?
It was not sent to me to put a resolution together, so you would need a motion to do that tonight. A motion, yes.
I'll make a motion to make a change order to 3328890. Correct, Greg? The change order? 3328890 is what's here on the sheet.
Yes.
And the amount of how much?
Pardon?
Is that the amount, or is that the,
I hope that's not too.
Where's that amount? I just had
It's
it
on the
here.
next page, okay.
250,000.
For $250,000.
gotta have an inspector?
But we reserve the right, does that have to be in the motion?
No.
You're
No,
gonna
I
just
don't
do
think
letter.
you need to do that.
I will second that.
Any more discussion?
I have none.
I have none.
None.
Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Mr. Warden?
Aye.
Mr. Simonis?
Nay.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Hulbert is absent. Mr. Lumsden?
Aye. All right, we're gonna move on to 5.2, DPW hiring. Mr. Burden.
With this, things have changed since Friday. This is a discussion I would like to have an executive session if possible to discuss what I like to see moving forward.
So Greg, you can't have an executive session to talk generically about policy and your vision of what the department structure is like? We can only be in executive session to discuss matters related to union contract negotiations and matters relating to particular persons. So if this is about a specific particular individual, or you have information you'd like to communicate with the board about a specific particular individual, that would be appropriate for an executive session. The rest of the discussion would have to be most likely in public.
I didn't hear the last part.
Most likely in public. I mean, I'm not
Yep.
sure of the full scope of what he's
Yep.
planning to ask here.
Your choice.
Yes, for the personnel matter. The
For a particular personnel
particular
matter,
Personnel matter in the DPW.
DPW. Okay, we'll
Okay, we'll do-
consider that later.
Do it at the end.
What?
Do it at the end.
Yep, that's what I said, we'll consider it later. Hang in there.
I only have one other discussion is for a future time, I want to discuss the wastewater treatment plant and our options at the wastewater treatment plant. I don't know if we want to do that currently now, if we can or we can't. I don't know that answer.
You guys wanna put him on a future agenda, or do we wanna hear what he has to say right now?
Is it really time sensitive, or?
Yes.
What do you wanna, just put him to the next meeting, or listen to him? What do you
I can
wanna
be
do,
quick.
guys?
No, then
Let's go.
do it.
Let's
You're,
do it.
you're up. You're on
You're up.
there. We're talking about hiring, so go.
Currently, we will, after May 9th, we'll be down to 5 employees in the Public Works Department. The treatment plant takes up 3 of those employees, usually on a daily basis. We do not have a treatment plant operator currently on staff. We hire out Hampton Group to run our sewage treatment plant. I like to suggest that we design an RFP to try to sub out the wastewater treatment plant operations completely and take the existing 5 employees and put them here in the Water and Parks Department.
So you're asking the board to consider the RFP for you to do some,
To create an RFP to go out for bid on a company to run the wastewater treatment plant, all operations, collection, treatment, and disposal.
So this include pump stations and
That
everything.
would be collection, treatment would be the sewer plant, and disposal would be the compost,
So your request right now is just for the RFP.
the RFP. Yep.
That's it.
Yes.
to explore it. Is
To
that,
explore the options.
I see you sitting back in your chair.
Yeah, so I think, a formal RFP is a very public communication and like somewhat of an indication that you are really going down that path. In order to go down that path completely, we will have to negotiate with the union for them to give this work up. And that might just be a complete non-starter with the union. And so I think it's one thing if Greg has some conversations with people about what that might theoretically cost, but formally issuing an RFP, that fully describes the scope of the work that we're actually looking to do, the union, I'm sure, is going to be very upset about that without us having a conversation with them and them agreeing to actually give this work up. If what you're interested in is what might this potentially cost, I think there's other ways to do that than getting a formal RFP, just so you've got some information behind it.
Well, the reality that I've been saying is I use the metaphor, we got a $44 million plane that we're gonna take possession of February of 2026, and we don't have the staff licenses to actually operate the plane. We don't have a pilot, we don't have a co-pilot, we don't have a stewardess, we don't have anything. And we got 3,800 customers that are gonna try to. We need to do something. Either we need to really throw a lot more money at trying to find someone from somewhere that has the licenses to run this plant. We don't have the staff to do it.
Yeah,
Where's the union participation in this?
the union, I'm gonna say possesses, has a right to perform the work at the plant.
I understand that, but what about training and helping us recruit?
It's our
employees?
responsibility to recruit, it's our responsibility to provide the training. The union
So
doesn't do
they
those
absolutely
things.
provide nothing except representation to those 5 employees?
Correct.
But if 5 employees are still here in some capacity, why is that an issue?
because they're giving up the work, is where
Okay.
Nate was
Their
going
work's
with
in
the
that.
contract.
That's where that was
What,
going.
Mike, what you're saying, I agree 100%, and I would expect the union to first say, okay, so go hire people. They tell you to go hire people, post those jobs, put those salaries out. If you're actually having difficulty hiring people for these positions, if I'm the union, then I might feel better about saying, okay, we'll give that work up. But like, I expect the union to push back strongly against giving
Okay.
that work up.
We've tried to hire how many times?
We've tried to hire numerous times. I've requested with
Level
the
2,
union
level 3?
to allow us to offer the second year rate with no response back from the union. So I've got no responses back saying, hey, go out and look, you can offer the second year rate of $30.
So you tried to up the scale to get someone licensed and they wouldn't respond to you?
Numerous times.
So can we give him permission to investigate this, like just to?
Yeah, I'm just saying, I don't think an
As
RFP.
opposed to a formal RFP.
Yeah, I don't wanna
You're
do an
saying
RFP.
avoid
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I mean, that'll help
Explore.
us vet out, okay, like, cause if the pricing that Greg, generically gets from somebody is astronomical,
Right.
you're not even gonna bother with
Right.
it.
Do you think you can look into some other municipalities that have done this?
I have figures.
Yeah.
It was brought to my attention that these are options that the town could utilize at some point in time. And companies have given me, figures on what it would cost to, run the plant completely. I do have those figures currently today, not here, but I do have them. If we wanna put this on a future agenda, I can gladly share that with the town.
Absolutely.
I have it broken down into what it would cost the town versus for the town to run the plant compared to what the town would pay the contractor to run the plant. Equipment, all the way down to weekend on-call rotations. So,
Greg, you've got 3 down at the plant right now,
yes,
plus the Camden employee?
plus 2 Camden employees.
Well, one of them's only part-time, right?
One's part-time, yes.
Okay.
And
So
they-
do you have the other one full-time?
Yes,
They're down there every day, 5 days a week?
yes,
But the Camden's the ones with the license, correct?
correct.
And their contract's over 200,000 now, correct?
Currently, yes. It stands to go up if and when the new plant goes online.
And you,
In your opinion, is 4 personnel, what does it need down there to operate that, in your opinion?
When I took over 5 years ago, I stationed 3 men there, 1 operator and 2 laborers, 1 in the collection and 1 in the disposal. That worked good for the town. But we also had we hired out a 2A operator. So we had our own, plus we had to have a contracted operator. So in theory, there was 4 people stationed there, 2 that had licensing and 2 that did not.
So currently, only the Camden employee has a license,
Correct. Yes,
and that's the 3A operator?
yes. Legally on staff, on books, we have to have a 3 and a 2A for the size of our plant.
Okay, so the 3A is the one that's only there a day a week.
They're both 3A, so we get charged for 2 3As because they don't have a 2A that they can supply us. So,
Okay, so it's a
And if they had a
minimum of being a
4A, we'd
2A, okay.
yep,
there's a 4A license too?
yes.
Could we put this on a future agenda?
Yep.
That's what I'm good, I'd be good
You
with
can,
that.
so we're in agreement to let
Yeah.
Greg do some more research on his
Yes.
own?
And to provide what he's got.
Provide what he's got?
Yeah, but I
on a
want as much,
future-
I want as much detail as you can give, because even what you just said now, we've got 2 3As, and we're being charged for both of them. Anything you can put together like that, that I can kind of understand, the better.
Do you folks want me to reach out to the union rep and say, this has now been brought up as a, idea?
Exploratory.
The town is exploring it. Obviously a piece of that is working with you folks. Can we begin
I'm
a
in favor
conversation?
of that, Nate.
Me-
I think
am
we should
too.
communicate with them, because obviously they can see this.
Yeah,
meeting
well,
and they're gonna
well,
know
we
we're
need to
talking about
anyway.
Yeah, we're gonna have to eventually, so.
Somehow
doing it-
this has gotta work.
Doing it right now, I think, is the best time to do it, because
Yes.
if they
Yeah.
feel a partner to
You're being right up front.
this process, then, okay.
We gotta have someone run the plant that's qualified and licensed to do it.
Yep.
So, all right, we good, gentlemen?
I'm good.
All right, Greg, you got your, you good? Anything
Yes, sir.
else, sir?
Not till the next topic, no, I'm good.
You covered all that? All right. 5.3, Highway Union Contract Discussion, Mr. Crock.
So with the new info and stuff going on with that, I'm requesting that we go into executive session to discuss the union contract with this, please.
That would be attorney-client privilege for the contract, Nate?
No, that would be matters relating to negotiations in the union contract, and, I mean, it could also be attorney-client
Okay.
privilege. There's a couple paths we got. They both
All
apply.
right. All right, we're gonna do that later then. Moving right along, there is no public hearings tonight. We're gonna move on to new business, building conditions study, the RFP. Greg?
Found one, tweaked one, created it, however we wanna talk about it. Made it fit the town of Shenango, sent it out. Gene saw it, Nate researched it, everything looked good on their end. Only questions I had is you see the parts that are highlighted. I just picked those 3 buildings, being that the 2 are here and the one's in Castle Creek that probably should be looked at. Are those 3 good to put into the study? Do you wanna add any more? Take away one? And the other thing that's highlighted is information. Should I be providing information that has already been done at these buildings? Or leave that blank? That I didn't know.
Do we own any other structures?
We own lots of structures,
I'm,
but not like, other than the museum, nothing that I don't think we have to look at.
What do you mean we own other structure? Like, give me an
Yeah,
example.
well,
sheds,
museum.
right? And we
Shed-
own, we
oh.
own sheds and,
We own sheds,
The
we
cemeteries,
own the,
parks.
up at the landfill, we own
Okay.
that
Oh, I
garage,
forgot about,
stuff
yeah,
like that.
all right.
I think these are the 3 that I keyed on that we would probably wanna look at right away.
I agree with you on that.
Yep, I agree with that.
I don't think there's anything wrong with sharing information that you already have.
Okay, so
At least
share,
that gives them a baseline. I'm assuming there's gonna be, some on-site visits to each of these.
Yep.
And Nate, I would just ask that you look again at the insurance paragraph, if we're gonna have third-party vendors on our property.
Yeah, did we refer that over to the town's insurance agent, Craig? I don't,
no,
I almost always say do that, but we didn't do that on this one. Because then, yeah, that should be sent over before it actually goes out.
yeah, I will do that.
Yeah, the Nick Spencer.
Spencer, yep.
Yeah, he's very good about getting back with, oh, here's the language we want, so.
Okay.
I will add that in, send that over, then we'll get it on for a future agenda.
Good, thank you.
Sounds good, thanks.
You good, Mr. Burton? Okay, we're gonna move on to 7.2, Bodek zoning change discussion. Mr. Bodek. You have something that you don't wanna address the board? Okay. All right, board, you see the application that? Oh, I didn't. I thought I'm asking you if you wanna say anything. I was just being courtesy to you, that's it, okay. All right, it's fine. So the board, you see the zoning request, petition that Mr. Bodek has put. He's asking for a rezone, chapter 73 he's submitted to us. I'm going through this, I see all that, but I don't see anything in particular here. What's the board's thought here? What do you wanna do with this?
It just has to go to the planning board, right?
Normally, that's what would happen. We would kick it to the planning board for the planning board's interpretation, or,
But is this, Mike, is this, if I'm reading this right, this is for changing a zone for a development within a PDD? It's my understanding this zone is not a PDD currently.
it's commercial, or agricultural, right?
Correct.
It's
yep.
agricultural, right?
Right?
So even if it were a PDD, you still can't do anything there unless you come to planning.
Right, I
Right, I
believe,
mean-
normally, the town's policy, when I did it way back in the day, the town kicked it to the planning board because they do the comprehensive plan to give the town board their
Right.
recommendation.
Right. So,
Am I,
but I'm just saying, what was added here it says here for a zoning change undertaking development within a PDD. But I don't think that's the case here, right?
no, it shouldn't, it wouldn't be PDD, it would be agricultural, wouldn't it, Hank?
No, my understanding is he's
Well-
asking to amend the zoning map to change the zoning from agricultural to PDDC.
Yeah, number 4, application request for zoning change from agricultural to
Right.
PDDC.
And then he is.
Number 4.
Yeah, the reason indicated to prepare the property for potential commercial development, so my understanding would be he does not have a specific use identified for it. It would just be zoned PDDC, and
Right.
then, you know,
Right, and
somebody
then
comes
it
along.
would still have
and-
to go through all its processes regardless of what the
Correct,
project would be.
but the first part is always, we have to pass a local law to rezone the property, and I would have to put it together, you'll have to hold a public hearing. Prior to the public hearing, it would get referred to the county and to the planning board for their advisory opinions, you know, we're not gonna 2-3 month process here. This is really, do you have interest in exploring this? If you all say, no, we don't want this to become PDDC, you know, the woman who spoke during the public comment, of course, she's expressed some reasons why. You might say, yeah, I agree, I don't even want to explore it. Why? I don't ever want to do it. If you feel like exploring it, not committing you to doing it, it's just saying, yes, we will entertain it, let's start the process along and hear from the public at a public hearing and get the planning board's opinion and, you know,
So would it go to the planning board or just stay here?
You would refer it to the planning board for an advisory opinion prior to holding a public hearing on this. You know, I would need to put a local law together to, you know, be the thing upon which you would be acting. And then you'd schedule a public hearing and refer it to the planning board. If you just want to get the planning board's opinion.
That's.
Without me drafting a law.
Right.
Or doing the 239 or any of that stuff, you can do that. The planning board will then see it twice. Because they're gonna see it once when you give it to them now to say, hey, what do you think? And then if they say, sure, do it, and you say, all right, we'll explore it, then I'll draft a local law. You'll then have to refer it again to the planning board, because that's what as I recall, your town code requires.
Yeah.
So it's just referring it to them twice.
But the planning board is an extension of the town board, and they see all this building permits and everything coming in. They're responsible for the comprehensive plan. In the past, the board has always asked them for their opinion. Doesn't mean we have to agree with their opinion.
Yeah, no.
But we asked for their opinion, right? You sat on it, you know more about it than I do. You were on the planning board.
My question is, how does the town, if a property owner is requesting for a zoning change, should have the opportunity to go through the process for a zoning change, correct?
The town board can just say no. It's a legislative decision. You know, I mean, this is the process.
What's the repercussions if we say no? What's the liability of the town?
I don't think you have any. It's a
Are there
discretionary
any
action.
PDD districts in the town now?
Oh, PDDC is
Very
all
popular.
over the place.
How many of them are actually buildable
Right.
Oh.
without a variance?
Yeah,
That's
how
the
many-
problem.
Well, that's a
our issue.
whole.
I
that's
know, it's a whole
other-
other issue, but
People-
that's why he's
Well, they
looking
talk
into
about
this,
Front
because there's
Street.
a million
Right.
properties down Front Street, you can't build
You
on any
can't
of
build
them.
on them.
You can't build on them.
Yeah, without variances, right? And
Without
that is why the town has decided to move forward with a comprehensive plan, so that way it can then roll that into updating its zoning.
Exactly.
You know, this property, how many, I don't
I
remember
don't know how many acres it is.
30,
32.
32?
So it is actually large enough to qualify under the PDDC. You know, because it's a minimum 6 acres.
6
I think.
acres. We don't have 6
Right.
acres anywhere
No,
on Front Street.
without aggregating properties.
Correct, right. So I mean, again, my only point about your question of don't we refer this to the planning board? Yes, you do. It's just do you want to do it twice or do you want to do it once? If you want to do it once, then I'll put a local law together. We don't have to send it out 39. It's a very easy process to put a local law together for this. I mean,
I'd like to do it twice then.
What'd he say?
I'd like to have it go to the planning board.
Me too. And just let them, they see it, let them
don't see
do
the
all
harm in
that
it.
and kick it
I
back
just
to us.
don't.
No,
I
it's
don't
just-
see the
that's fine.
harm.
That's what always has been done in the past.
Okay.
You get their opinion. They're from the community, what the pros and cons are.
Well, I think the public hearing part of it is where the town board gets all the feedback from.
Exactly.
And we don't make a decision till after the public hearing
Right.
Right.
of I know it's a huge process, obviously, but
Yeah.
how many times have we gone through that process where the public's come out and they spoke and we said, whoa, no, we're.
Right.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But it
After they
went
spoke,
through-
we
it
said, we're
went
not
through
gonna
all
vote
the
for you.
channels.
Yeah, just to be clear, you have legislative discretionary decision-making authority here. If you want to go through the process, go through the process. I'm not saying no. And if you want to, but if you want to send it to the planning board before formally going, starting that process, that's fine too.
That's
I just want to understand what you guys want to do.
You can say, I feel that property owners should have the ability to go through the process.
And that is
But the town
perfectly
board
fine.
gives the authority to have the planning board give us an advisory opinion on
After
the
we
request.
start the process.
Yeah.
But you can send it to the planning board first if you just want them to see it, because all they're gonna do is look at, there's no proposed structure, there's none of that stuff. So, there's just no information there.
So, I'm not gonna speak, Mr. Bodek, you're here. I've asked you to speak. You can speak anytime you want. The way I look at it, he's asking for this. He bought it. It's agricultural. He could put pigs and cows in there if he wants. But if he's got something, I think it should go to the planning board and get some discovery. I don't know if that's the right word to,
There wouldn't
Just
be
gonna
any.
give an
there wouldn't
opinion,
be any.
right?
They're literally just going to give you an opinion on whether or not you should begin the process of exploring this as a local law. I mean, they might say, sure, yeah, just rezone it PDD.
but all the rezoning down River Road when we had McGurk's and Red and White and all that was not properly zoned, the town board kicked all that to have when we did all that rezoning, to kick it to the planning board to see what their recommendations were.
Yeah, so maybe I'm not
Let's
being.
make it easy. Let's just kick it to the planning board. When's the planning board meeting, the 12th?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can we get it on for the 12th?
Well, Diane would say the deadline's a month beforehand. but
Yes,
they
that's
also
usually.
Yeah, so they, has the planning board considered things on a faster basis if the town board's asked? Yeah, they have. So we could ask them to do that.
So let's kick it to, we in agreement? Kick it
I'm
to the
in
planning
agreement.
board
Kick
and
it to the
start the
planning board.
process.
Yep, that's me.
Get an advisory from them.
So
Jay?
Suggestion.
Yeah, so just let me walk you through what we're gonna do then.
Right.
We'll send it to the planning board at this May meeting. The planning board will give a recommendation on whether or not you should proceed with consideration of a local law. It will then come back to you at your second May meeting. At that May meeting, you will decide whether to direct me to draft a local law.
Or not.
I will then draft the local law, and that at a meeting in June, it will be introduced, and you will then schedule a public hearing. It will then be referred to the planning board again for their meeting in July, for them to give you an advisory opinion on that. And then at your second meeting in July or your first meeting in August, you will consider a 239. Or excuse me, you'll have the public hearing and then potentially take action. If you don't give it to them at their May meeting, I will draft that local law. At your first May meeting, you will introduce it, schedule it for a public hearing at the end of June. We will send it to the planning board for an advisory opinion, and we will do the 239, and you will consider it at the end of June.
Okay.
You're adding an extra step here, where you will still get the exact same feedback from the planning board.
Right.
If you want to do it the first way that I described, I don't have a problem with it. I just want you all to understand the timing.
It's the difference of one meeting for us.
One or two,
Well,
I think,
yeah.
because
You think it's two?
Yeah, because I think the
Then you
first
gotta-
one, I was like, we're talking maybe August or end of July.
Okay.
It's like the difference of a month.
What's your
Dave?
guys' opinion?
I'm gonna go the long way around.
Kevin, that's what you said too, right? Just
Has
kick the
the
planning.
town board ever said,
Not that go ahead, I don't wanna finish it.
no,
What's
just,
your question?
just anybody comes in for a zoning change, says, no, we're not even gonna accept you for the process.
I've never seen that happen. I know
I
I had
can't
to do
believe
it
that it
20
has.
years ago, 25 years ago.
I mean, there's a reason there's a process.
Right.
And I'm not saying like that's wrong, that's a wrong view. I'm just letting you know you have authority to not do that. If you feel strongly we should do it, I respect that. That's perfectly fine.
But
That's
the
a reasonable
precedent in the
method.
town has always been,
Yeah, I'm not arguing you shouldn't do it. I'm just letting you know your options.
okay, fair enough.
Well, that's the only reason why I'm doing it, because that's the way we've done it.
Right.
So if it's a fast track to get it done, we're gonna save a month. I can be talked out of it, but we just never done that before.
And you got 5 other people on the planning board that have an opinion that I think we should also listen to, along with the public.
Well, you're gonna get their opinion. The
Right.
difference is, are you gonna get it twice?
Correct.
I say kick it to the planning board, that's what you guys have always done.
Do you want to kick it to them twice, or do you want to do it once? That's,
Twice.
okay.
What's your guys' opinion?
Once. It seems just bureaucratic to me.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna do it once?
Yep.
You agree once? So let's, David, I'm gonna, if the 2 of them are gonna do that, then I agree, we'll do it once.
So I will, at the next meeting, have a local law drafted for you to review. That's what,
And then we can vote to
and then
whether to
that will
hold a
be,
public hearing or not.
yeah, and that will be referred to the planning board for their advisory opinion. Yes.
Right.
Well, where does the public come for their public hearing?
That's,
That you, at the next meeting, the local law will be introduced. So that'll be May, 2 weeks from today, so May 13th.
Yeah?
You will schedule your public hearing for June, either your
30
first or your
days.
second meeting.
Yep.
Right.
The
Okay.
planning board will give you an advisory opinion prior to that public
Okay.
hearing.
Okay,
and we'll get the 239
And we'll
review
get
and
the
all,
two-
and
yes.
all, the whole process is done properly.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay.
And then
we'll-
the public can come
the
speak.
public can have their say.
And you will make a decision in June, probably, I would assume the second meeting in June is my guess. It'll all be wrapped up by then.
Okay,
Perfect.
we gotta do a motion to do that?
No, you're just telling me to draft a local law, I'll do it.
Do it.
No need for a motion.
Get her started. All right, we're gonna move on. Code office discussion. Gentlemen, the code officer resigned. I forwarded you, we got a little bit of an issue with the town of Fenton. Nate, you might be able to help me. The town of Fenton is covering us, but they're claiming that their officer does not and will not sign our documents, that somehow our interim guy that we have that can sign. I don't believe that's correct. Nate, can you help me out here?
So there's 2 pieces to that. One is whether the Fenton guy can sign our stuff or not. That, to me, is a Fenton choice. If we have an IMA, which we do not currently, with Fenton, whereby we each agree to support each other for code services, and we appoint, their code officer, assistant code officer, on a temporary basis as needed, then he could absolutely sign stuff for us. But if Fenton's saying, no, we're not gonna let that happen, that's a discussion that needs to happen between the supervisors and,
Okay.
can you convince them to let them do that or not? Separately is the question of whether our current employee, who is a building inspector, can sign anything. The answer is, he could if he has completed, it's either 1/3 or 2/3,
One-third, yeah.
1/3 of the total courses that he has to take to become qualified as a building inspector. When somebody's employed as a municipal employee and taking those courses, after they finish a third, they can actually start signing stuff.
Certain things.
Certain things, correct, not everything, but they can start doing some things. My understanding is this employee has not actually completed a third of
Anything.
those courses, so
Yep.
to my understanding, he should not be signing anything.
And we have building permits coming in, people that want inspections. So I forwarded to the board, there is a gentleman out of Albany that will come here 1 day a week. I gave his resume, he's well-versed, done it for a lot of years. He would give us a day or 2 days, whatever we think we needed. If, my thought here is if we made him our department head, he has the license, then the person that we're training would train under him. He's our department head. It gets us our legal stuff. Then, working with the town of Fenton and possibly the town of Binghamton, through their 2 code officers, we can get them trained, at least so that we can serve the public right now, because we have no one. It's a real issue for people that are trying to build houses and businesses that are halfway through their permit process. So I'm open to anything, but I need the board to make a decision to appoint someone, the department head, that has a license.
don't think they need to be department head.
Well, okay,
They just need to be.
well, I was going by what Gene
Code
had said to me,
enforcement
my
officer.
apologies.
So, there's a residency restriction for code enforcement officers. They have to reside within the county. So this gentleman from Albany could not be appointed as your code enforcement officer. But they could be appointed as your department head, not the officer.
But then he
Still doesn't
can't,
solve.
But then he can't
the
sign,
signature
he
issue.
can't sign the document.
he
He
can't
couldn't.
use his license, can he?
I mean, he knows everything. He cannot sign things, and
Well, that
he
ain't
shouldn't
gonna
sign
help.
things unless he's doing things, but, to the extent that, I think, Mike, what you and I had thrown around was that he sounds like he knows what he's doing, and he could oversee that the people who you do appoint as a temporary code officer to work with Doug are actually doing the things that they should be doing, and giving you like a check on, are those things all being done or not? Now, you don't have to do that, right? It's just an option. Other option is, in fact, appoint somebody local to be code officer and do, go that route on a temporary basis while you search for a long-term person.
Well, gentlemen, I sent you the stuff for the town. Nick Pappas, he wrote us, said that he'll work for an hour to help the town out. You want to do that? I mean, we got to do something here.
He's pretty sure you can get those hours there, Mr. Pappas, or?
That's what he's claiming. I mean, I did not personally speak to him. They sent these letters, I forwarded to you guys. Right now, we don't have a lot of choices here. There's a shortage of code officers throughout the state. Now, Mr. Holbert had said at the meeting, he's the code officer for the county, so he thought he was in conflict. He then spoke to me after the meeting, and he was going to check to see if indeed that was a conflict of interest for his company that has code officers. I don't know whatever was resolved from that.
He reached out to me. I would have concerns, and I think that would be the type of thing you'd probably constitute your Board of Ethics to
I would
clear
think
before
so,
doing
too.
that.
We want to
Right.
avoid that.
Right?
We need to avoid that.
I'm just putting out what I was told, so I agree with you. But what are we gonna do?
So Nate, as qualified as this gentleman is from Albany County, it really doesn't seem relevant to utilize his services except for expertise.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, and so the question is just, how do you do that? You could hire him as a consultant to do the exact same thing and not call him your department head. It's just that then he wouldn't have any authority to do anything. And again, to be clear, I'm not advocating one way or the other.
How did we do it when we had the fire inspector code officer that was from Groton and all that? That was because they were bordering us?
I don't know.
Oh,
Wasn't here for that.
So Nick Pappas is certified building inspector?
I
that's
don't
what
know
he's
that.
claiming.
Have here, Mike, is that note. I don't have I don't see a specific proposal.
He does it for the town building inspection for the town of Binghamton. I can call and check with him.
He's the code enforcement
I know
officer
we've
there?
used him in the past here when there was a conflict, along with Matt Banks from Fenton. But we need someone that's willing to inspect and sign on their license.
Well, if he's qualified enough, I would recommend utilizing Nick, and we'll have to give more consideration to the
Okay.
expertise from the gentleman from Albany County, because I just don't see the value of utilizing that at this point.
I was thinking the value was coming because he had his license, but he just didn't,
Right,
I
if
didn't
he-
know that
right,
part.
if he isn't
So-
able to utilize it,
No.
then
So is the board all right with me talking to Nick Pappas and seeing if he'll come on board and help us out? And then we got advertisements out, but
Where's he from? Town of Binghamton?
town of Binghamton.
So is this gonna be IMA or?
Is he saying he could just be?
He's
just
saying,
wanna do it
he-
privately.
he's doing it privately. He would be
Right.
our employee, which I
Right.
believe he
which
would
we
have to
need
be.
to have, right?
Yeah. And so then, I think the question that would remain is, are you saying he's the department head on an acting temporary basis, or are you bringing him as just code officer, not overseeing anything else specifically?
I think just code
Code.
officer. We just
Just
need a
code.
code officer license. We just need someone that can do inspections, someone to keep all these projects going in the town.
Yeah, because that's, I mean, Mike, that's for you when you talk to him, right? When you tell him, okay, this is what we're thinking, and,
And we'll see what he,
right.
I have not physically spoke to him, so I will, with the
Talk
board
to him.
direction.
Talk to him, man. What
Okay.
else? We don't have anything else?
I'll talk to him, but we're kind of in a bad spot there. And I'll reach out to the town of Fenton because I don't understand their reasoning for, if we're in a agreement with them, why they're refusing to sign our documents. Because basically, he's not doing anything for us.
We're not in agreement with it.
Yeah, I mean, there is no agreement
They didn't
signed,
sign.
right?
Well, they didn't sign
Yeah,
it.
they never signed one, and they're yet with the specific tweaks to the agreement that he's emailed me and said that there is our son that they want. I haven't seen it yet.
Then I'll reach out to Nick tomorrow, and I'll forward you guys emails on what information he gives us. And in the meantime, we're trying to get applications, but everyone so far that's put an application in doesn't have any licenses. And that's close to October and November is the closest the one we have right now is.
So the soonest we can have one is the next meeting, right?
Apparently, yeah,
Unless you hold a special meeting.
unless we hold a special meeting. And I may do that if I talk to him tomorrow and get some answers from him, whether they're good or bad. I will probably ask for a special meeting within 72 hours.
Well, I mean, you just ask them now if they're willing to do a special meeting if you get some.
Can I do that?
Yeah, I mean, you're not actually scheduling, you're just saying, are you guys agreeable to holding one?
I am.
Would you be willing to hold one? Today's Wednesday, can I get it Friday? That's not enough, so.
Monday.
Monday, and I'm not gonna be here.
I
Kevin?
definitely wanna hold
Is
the
there
meeting.
any projects being held up right now that we have to have a special
There's
meeting?
projects right now that,
But they're
abs-
moving forward, they're just, I mean, that's what I'm asking. Is there anybody that's at a standstill?
well, Gene Holbert would tell you that there should all be at a standstill, because until we have someone
They
licensed
could,
by
they could
us.
have a private inspection.
I
The one
agree with that too,
The one that
but
comes to mind, Kevin, is the UHS
UHS,
project.
that's
Correct.
what I was
The old
concerned
state
the
about.
lady
yeah.
that came here and spoke.
And then,
Okay.
and then you've got the Taco Bell that, you know,
And
the-
that's
the
how-
foundations are in the ground, they're gonna be looking to backfill.
And that's how this gentleman from Albany got here, is because one of them called to probably do their due diligence, but whether that's legally sufficient or not, I'm not a judge. So I don't know. But that's how the gentleman from Albany was called by one of them people to try to
So when.
oversee
you're-
their stuff.
You're not here Monday?
Yes.
Like, you could, I mean, you could still call for the
We could
special
do it
meeting
for
and then.
Saturday.
Well, you call the special meeting, but like, doesn't mean you have to be there as long as there's a quorum.
Well, it'd be you three, gentlemen, because I think he said he was gone for a week. It's just the timing of this. I mean, I could do
Give the guy a call, let's get some information.
I'll send it all to you guys as soon as I get it,
I
all
could
right?
do Saturday if need be.
And would you agree to have a special meeting Monday in case that all comes together? Kevin, you can call for the special meeting. We would,
Why would I
Yeah.
call?
you wouldn't have to call for it.
You'll call for it.
Yeah, I don't call for anything.
Yeah, you will call for it, and then you just won't show up. Like, that's okay.
But we're gonna do that now.
Oh, you want to schedule that right now? Okay.
No.
I mean, if you think you're gonna have all the information, Kevin's saying, oh, no,
Get the
talk to
information,
Pappas.
talk to
Just-
this guy.
Okay, I will. Today's Wednesday, gentlemen. Okay, got it. We done?
We are.
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna move on. Where's my agenda now?
Attorney's report.
Attorney's report, Mr. Nate.
Well, you'll note the number of executive sessions. I've been busy. And there's another executive session that I'd like to ask for matters relating to an employee within the DPW. I think it's separate from the one that Greg is talking about. I forget everything else that I've done because it's been a lot of employee stuff. Do any of you have any specific questions for me about anything that you'd like me to research, look into specifically, just in general? Well, I always like to try to ask that. Or is there anything that any of you are waiting on from me?
Not that
I don't
I'm
think so.
aware of.
Not that I'm aware of. Nope.
Okay.
Okay. We'll get to your executive session at the end of the meeting. 8.2 Supervisor's Report. Only thing I'm gonna comment on is what Ms. Joy brought up, flood manager. We need to appoint someone to the flood manager position.
Well, I thought we talked about last meeting that we were.
But we didn't cover flood manager though.
Well, that wasn't.
We did stormwater, we missed the flood.
Can he be flood manager?
As far as I know, yes, he could be. Then he'll need to, otherwise make sure he complies with whatever certifications and training are needed for
want-
that.
I don't know, I'm just trying, what other choice do we have?
We gotta do something.
We
We
have
don't
no
have a
choice
code,
right
we
now.
don't have a code officer
Would
right
you
now.
accept,
But I thought he had to be an employee of the town.
yeah, he's a contractor.
He's a contractor. Ms. Joy? That's what I thought I read, but
I don't know that answer. I'd have to look into it.
Is Darren your vote? Okay, there you
You gonna second that, Kevin?
I make a motion to appoint Darren Kroc as flood manager for the town of Shenango.
I second it.
Discussion.
None.
Floodplain manager, thank you.
go. I have no,
I'm okay.
Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Mr. Warden,
aye.
Mr. Simonis,
Aye.
Mr. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Holbert is absent, Mr. Lumsden.
Aye.
Are you going to accept the appointment?
All right,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
So we're good, so that'll take care of.
Joy, you happy now? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for keeping us on our toes. All right, we're gonna move on to resolutions. Mr. Nate, resolution,
Yep, resolution 9.1, we're approving abstract number 9.
So moved.
Second.
discussion.
I have none.
None.
Mr. Warden,
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Holbert is absent, Mr. Lumsden.
Aye.
Resolution 9.2, authorizing the hiring of a part-time deputy town clerk, Timothy Heller, at the rate of $19.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I want to have a discussion. So, hiring the deputy clerk part-time, when we had that discussion, I believe it was Mr. Holbert asked the clerk about covering the hours, because right now, the clerk's office is closed at 3 o'clock and everything else, and I believe, Mr. Clerk, that you said that, I want some clarification on this. If the board approves this, is that gonna meet your needs? And I believe you said that you would cover the hours that the part-time clerk wasn't there. Did I hear that right? I mean, it was hard to hear you guys from the mics. I just want some clarification, because allocating the money for this, I don't know what, if this is gonna meet your end goals or what your long-term strategy is here. And are you gonna cover to have that clerk's office open when this part-time person isn't there?
My long-term strategy was to utilize my budget.
I understand that, but from my perspective, was that office was never designed to have 3 people long-term. So this is just my discussion that I'm having with the board. So go ahead.
So do you need a full-time, or is it yourself and a part-time?
Well, I was looking for full-time as well.
So it's
This
a
is news to
full-time
me
and a
that,
part-time?
Correct.
Because we did have that discussion when Mr. Holbert was here in a past meeting, and he questioned that, and I thought we were at 2 people. Now, I'd have to go back and look at the minutes if it was gonna be yourself and a full-time deputy clerk, or yourself and a part-time clerk. So you're saying now that it's 3 people, it's a full-time and a part-time?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
That's,
For clarification, what are the clerk's office hours?
right now, they have been, since Dawn and I came on, we adjusted it from 9 until 3, which is what they've remained as. And since it's been just me, I have been shutting down for lunch from approximately 11:30 to 12:30,
Okay.
which that will go away with the hirings. And it's, coverage is important.
Those hours are on the website. I apologize for not looking first. 9 to 3? That's what's posted? Adam?
Correct, yes.
So this is a little different
I-
than what I recall.
I just wanted,
I did not have I don't recall the conversation about two full-time and a part-time, from my opinion.
For
Now,
the-
When I
if-
first brought this up, I did bring up the possibility of having two hiring resolutions a couple months ago. I don't remember if you were on board then or not. It might have been when we,
I was, and I recall the discussion about whether or not the part-time would be a permanent part-time position. Because I remember specifically Mr. Holbert having reservations about that.
well, this is what I was budgeted for. I didn't.
Okay.
The board
I just
caught
wanted to
me
get,
off
I just
guard.
wanted to get clarification on it, that's all.
Yeah, yeah. the board
well,
caught me
and
off
I just
guard
want
with
to
that.
state for the record, this motion for a part-time person, I'm okay with that, but I'm just making it clear on the record, I am not gonna support another full-time person in that clerk's office. I'm personally not going to do that. I'm just making that clear to the board and for the record, so.
But he's allowed a deputy clerk.
He's allowed a deputy
A
clerk.
deputy clerk, which he wants to hire right here.
Right, that's
But
fine.
after that, if he wants another deputy clerk, it's controlled by the town board. The
He's,
work- the
right
work
now,
of
he's
that-
we have to allocate money for a part-time position for his first clerk,
Yes,
For his deputy clerk.
his
Yes.
deputy clerk. That's correct.
Yes.
All right. My point is, when the board had 3 people in there, that was a temporary thing to have the part-time person because the clerk that had been here for years was retiring out, and that was short-term. And Gene Holbert was on the board, and going back looking at the minutes, nowhere do I believe that the board's intent at the time was to have 3 full-time people in that position, or 2 full-times and 1 part-time.
well,
That
if the
was all
full-time comes
temporary.
up, Mike, we'll have the discussion again. So I think
Exactly.
here we're voting on the
Yes.
part-time.
And I'm fine with
And
that,
Okay.
but I just
That's what I-
wanted to make it clear for the record.
Understood.
I did not know that this was the board's wishes last budget season, last year.
We
the clerk's
discussed it
office-
at the last meeting with Mr. Holbert.
Yes, I'm talking about last budget season.
Okay.
When the clerk's office was budgeted for 2 full-time deputies, and then that was reduced to 1 full-time and 1 part-time. I thought that that's what the
Okay.
board will be working with as well as I.
Well, let's vote on this.
Okay?
I'm-
Had the discussion.
Yeah. There's just-
Any more discussion? David?
I have none.
Okay.
Mr. Warden?
Aye.
Mr. Simonis?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Holbert is absent. Mr. Lumsden?
Aye.
Resolution 9.3, authorizing additional hours for code enforcement staff. This would authorize both Diane Aurelio and Renee Dallimore to each work up to 35 hours per week during the period between April 1st, 2025 and July 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second. Discussion.
None.
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 Mr.
Roll
Warden?
call.
Aye.
Mr. Simonis?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Holbert is absent. Mr. Lumsden?
Aye. All right, that's the last one, right, Nate?
Yep.
Okay, future board topics. We definitely got, Mr. Burden wants to be on there. Several times. For your topics again?
Yeah, for the, building study,
Yep.
wastewater treatment plant.
And sewer treatment plant. Operations of the sewer treatment plants. You guys, what else we got for the 12th of May?
For the 14th.
14th of May? Come on.
We have Judas, the resolution, but you're good with that.
Yeah, that'll be a resolution calling for the public hearing, so that'll be
Right.
pretty quick.
I guess
If we can, I think it's probably best for the 14th, next meeting. I don't see why not.
At least the wastewater treatment plant operation. Building study, that can go on.
I just think the 28th is getting crowded, Kev,
For which one?
for Greg's discussion.
I thought he was going on the 14th.
He is.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
On the
did I-
fourth, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say about the, another item to include on the 14th, so continue on with the Greg thing, and then I'll jump in, if you had anything else to say.
I have nothing else.
Okay, sorry. We're gonna be introducing the local law for the Bodek property rezoning. That will also be fairly quick, because it's just scheduling a public hearing and referring it to the planning board.
We can do that on the 14th as well.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
No, well, find out about the code. I don't have anything at this point. We just gotta get through these issues. I don't know where we're gonna be with the personnel issue that these gentlemen are gonna talk about, so that might be something
might have
different
to-
when we come out.
So
But
we
at
might
this
as-
point, no.
You still doing the fire district number 1 budget discussion?
That gentleman,
Oh, Mr. Oberhaus.
yeah,
yes. Was he-
he's assuming he's gonna come, we're gonna discuss it, so yeah,
Yeah, I don't see why not, if he's prepared.
yeah.
He's gonna be,
He's supposed to be
he was
getting us
told
some
to bring back, yeah.
documentation.
Okay, that's fine, then leave
So-
it on there.
David?
Hey, Greg? I know it's a long ways away, but do we have to do anything to revise or revisit the EDU issue before it goes into phase at the end of this year?
No, I don't believe so.
Uh,
Other than updating dates.
Yeah, but we will have things to do. Greg is gonna have to update the list of properties subject to the assessment, which Greg's staff did work last year.
Right.
And it's just updating it with things that changed, that they should probably be doing in August to be folding in the EDU discussion to your budget discussions. And then we would hold the public hearing on EDU assessments the same night that you do your budget hearing.
Because I know it's going to be a big thing. It's going to be a shock to people. So I want, well, as far as,
There's gonna be an increase, right?
It'll be the same figure that we had last year, we're relatively close to it, but the workload won't be nowhere near as much to come up with it.
okay.
So the only one I have is we had gentlemen speak in the beginning of the meeting, public speaking about something I don't know anything about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The Kings.
Oh, Kings,
About-
yes.
Yes.
So
Sorry.
is this a future topic?
Well, you had some updates on what is actually gonna be on their property, which I was not aware of. Are you gonna forward us what
Yeah,
what that is?
I can forward to the board. I know Jay and you were both on that email. Certainly I'll forward it to the rest of the board, but
That
Leesen's.
would probably be good.
Yeah, I can do that. I'll do that now. But Leesen's information was effectively that the control panel will still be there, moved into the right-of-way where it should have been. And then my understanding is no other really new structures above grade, some things below grade. Leeson.
But it's not, and I
It's not
didn't
one of them
see any
big
discrimination.
units.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. It's not an elevated platform, is it?
That's my understanding, correct.
Okay, but
Yep.
now is Leeson gonna be here on the 14th, correct?
She
I thought that's what
probably
Greg, you
will
said.
be. Yep.
Okay, so then the Kings can be here also, and we can get that clarified, what exactly is gonna be on there, so we all know what we're talking about.
Yeah, so I spoke with Mr. King just before the meeting started and asked if he's available, he and his wife are available for a call with the engineer, Leeson, tomorrow at 11 a.m. so that they can hear directly from Leeson what is going over there. And Ms. King has certainly, I think, expressed a desire to move the location of the infrastructure over there to the corner. I mean, and I expressed to her already, that's a design issue. I have no idea whether that's feasible, how much that would cost, and that's something that Leeson could certainly vet out and let the town board know.
But she could have that discussion with us, and we can
She could have that
guide
discussion on the
decision.
14th, yeah.
So, should we
I think
ask
so.
Mr. and Mrs. King we're gonna put them on the
if-
agenda for the 14th to discuss this,
If they would,
okay?
if they would, yeah.
As long as you're able to work with them and Gleason, and
Let's-
get all the,
Oh, yeah, we're
And if
gonna have
you
a
don't
conversation
Wanna
tomorrow.
understand,
being progressed on a daily basis there. We
Right.
were there again today, and
Right.
there's writing all over when we were.
Well, they're laying things out, but if
But
we're gonna put
if
you,
you
if
have-
it's okay, he's gonna talk to you with Leeson Gleason. We're gonna put you on the agenda for the 14th, and you'll have more information, everyone will have more information, and you'll be able to speak, we'll be on the agenda to discuss.
Place until the 14th?
I
You can-
can't,
You know, I would bring that up on the call tomorrow.
yes.
Bring that
we
up
can't-
and talk to her, because they've got the schedule. Let's understand what
What the
that is.
schedule is.
And then we'll get some feedback.
Should we be
Ba-
dealing with your engineer?
Well, you're gonna be on the call with our
You're-
attorney.
With our attorney.
Your attorney's gonna be on the call, but the short answer is no. But you'll be using through our
You're gonna
attorney
be
as kind of the
hearing what they're
go-between.
saying is scheduled to work. We don't have them answers.
Right.
We're inviting you to be on that call so that you can hear it firsthand. Because right now, we're all talking hypothetical.
Right.
Because we don't know. You're gonna know more tomorrow. I don't know what else to tell you. We can't just stop work. Are they,
What we don't understand is how it's considered to be all access to the town. Like, there's no easement there.
they're claiming that it's in the right of way from the road.
Right, and that's what we do not understand is this right of way is all inclusive to our property? Above
I think
ground
I've got
structure?
the terminology wrong. There's a right of way that the street has.
We totally understand
Okay.
underground sewers and right of ways.
Okay.
What we don't agree with is above ground structures.
Unfortunately, Debbie, I don't think it's restricted, and you would have to tell me that. I don't think it's restricted, but regardless, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I
And
do
we
too.
wanna be a good neighbor too.
Right.
Right, so
But
I,
all of you could consider someone coming and putting
Absolutely.
above ground structure.
We don't even know if that's what they're doing.
100%. I envision
We don't know if that's
exactly
what they're doing now.
seeing where that would be on the property, and there are places on the property that would certainly be less intrusive than, like, right
There.
smack in the middle of it, okay?
You see how
And
that would be valuable?
Absolutely.
100%, I can
100%.
see it, 100%. And that's part of us looking at it and saying, we want to be a good neighbor too, right? And putting it in the middle of a property like yours
Yes.
is not being a very good neighbor.
And tomorrow, when you talk with the town attorney and the engineers, more questions should be answered a little bit, and they may say, whoa, we're putting the brakes on, we'll have the contract, and we're gonna work around this to address this. But right now, we just don't have enough information.
Find what is all-inclusive in a right-of-way.
Essentially, it is. It's
don't
not
see
it's not
above
restricted to
ground
below ground.
No. They
It's-
could
it's
pave
just
it. If
not.
it is the right of way of the town, we could pave it if we chose to. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I don't know where that mark is. The engineers and the surveyors have supposedly done their job. With this gentleman here and yourself and Bartlett Judas, we're gonna find out what it is. I don't know what else to do for you,
Yeah.
ma'am. And we'll get on the call tomorrow, and then we got you scheduled. If it's not satisfactory to you, then we got you on the agenda for the 12th. I just don't know what else to tell you.
Who approved the starting of the project?
The town board did that way back, I don't know when they approved that, it was way before me.
This project's been designed starting in like 2018, 2019.
2018?
It was authorized.
They approved it to be put where it
Well,
There's
that's
been,
part
there's
of,
been
that would be
this-
part of the design, right?
Yeah, I
So
know.
the design that came through,
Right.
yeah, that's, and typically that's where it's gonna get overlooked.
hearing.
if you
And when
will.
I was a citizen, I used to come to all the meetings, and it didn't affect me because I live way up in Castle Creek, but I remember them coming in with engineers and drawings and maps and everything. I didn't pay a lot of attention to it because it didn't concern me, so I can't tell you exactly when that came
Why
into
in
effect.
2021 did the town supervisor come to us with
I-
an easement for
It's-
us to
I
sign?
cannot
That's hard to
speak
say, we
for-
couldn't speak to her.
I
Yeah,
cannot
it's-
speak for someone's actions.
The town board didn't ask for an easement
I-
at the time?
The-
We weren't here,
The town
so-
supervisor is no longer here, so I cannot speak why she or she did or didn't do anything.
So there is not an easement. We were approached to sign an easement. We denied signing the easement, and you guys went ahead and did the project anyway without an easement.
So,
But-
so if
I
I can,
don't
if I
know.
can,
That's
if I
two
can jump
different
in,
issues.
you know, you're trying to question the town board about legal issues to which the town board does not have the answer. I've spoken with your husband, you have an attorney, you know, I'm happy to talk to you in the same way that I talk to your husband, but this is not an appropriate forum for,
Yeah, I'm
you
not a
know,
lawyer.
trying to get legal answers to the questions that you are asking.
Right.
The town board is not prepared or equipped to respond to those questions that you have, they're just not.
We're layman people, we're not lawyers, we're not engineers. We rely on professional people to tell us things. And that's why we're trying to do the best we can with you. And tomorrow, hopefully you get some more answers. I don't know what else to say to you at this point. I can't just take a wand and make things happen. It's not how it works. So, we got you on for the 12th. Okay?
14th,
Or,
14th.
excuse me, 14th.
5/14.
Got the last one in my head, 12th. All right, we're gonna move on. Anything else on future topics?
I'm done.
Okay?
Mike,
All
where
right, we
were-
got
hold
some
up.
executive sessions.
Hold on.
What?
Where were we putting the policy manual discussion?
Just
Well, Gene's not here.
put it
so
way down.
Way
I know
down.
we are, but we're
TBD.
gonna be running out of runway. We'd have the discussion with Gene then, that's fine. when he's
Yeah,
here.
when Gene gets back, that's his
That's fine, yeah.
thing.
I'm just saying that's probably a summer project for sure.
Yep,
He's got it.
and then we're gonna have to address the rezoning stuff that, having someone come in and look at all of our variances and why Front Street is the way it is and try to,
That's not till after the
later.
comprehensive plan.
Well, and actually, that is the RFP for the comprehensive plan services has not been finalized or approved by the town board to go out, so that should be a topic which has fallen off the list and needs to be back on it.
Yep.
All right,
All right,
we got,
good, Mike, go.
Okay, we good for right now?
yep.
Yep.
All right, so we apparently have some executive session, the public is more than welcome to stay. We're gonna have to go into it, but as we often do, we are gonna have an open forum again. Guests shall speak in orderly fashion, are limited to remarks of 5 minutes or less. The speaker shall deliver their comments or concerns in a civil tone and without the use of profanity, personal attacks, or other disruptive behavior. The speaker shall not be interrupted except in a matter of emergency. Would anyone like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question about, could you clarify what the process is going to be? We talked about you're going to create a law that will be brought up at the next town board meeting. This is in regard to the rezoning. And presumably that will be approved. You'll schedule a public hearing.
It's to
It
start.
starts the
It starts the
process.
process, and then the public notifications go out, and then the public comes out, and that's the process. So that we follow what the law is, even to the citizen that is asking it. They also have a due process right. So that's what we're
Yeah,
doing.
and just to nitpick with the word you use, so on May 14th, when the local law is introduced, it will not be approved by the town board.
No.
That just starts the
Starts
process.
the process of the public hearing and everything else.
And how broadly will that public hearing be?
Well, it
There-
goes in the
yeah,
paper.
there'll be a notice in the newspaper.
Newspaper.
It'll be on the town's website.
Website.
Better be on the town's
Yeah, it
website.
will be.
I know typically there's neighbor notices that get mailed out, but
Yeah, I was wondering how broadly those.
Well,
I
the
don't
town
know
even
about that.
legally,
Yeah.
the town has always been in the historical way of 500 feet of the property lines. That's what they've always done. I don't even know if that's a state requirement. I've been told it isn't, but the town has always done that. So but that comes from zoning. I don't know if that would apply, that was for a variance that they've always done that. I don't know that we
off the
did
top of my
mail
head.
it.
I don't
Yeah.
remember.
No,
So-
I think it still is, Mike.
It is for
I
a
think they
public
still
hearing.
use the 500.
Is it for the
feet
public
rule,
hearing, so
And then it's advertised in the paper
we
and on the town
advertise in the paper,
website.
website?
Most
You
like,
will set that date at the next town board meeting.
correct, and most likely it'll be on either June 11th or June 25th.
All right, thank you.
Can I ask another question, Doug?
Yes.
Related to the zoning? I really know absolutely nothing about this, but when we were talking about the zoning, I think you made the comment that there was nothing on the application for the zoning change about what the future plans are. Isn't, how do you make a decision on something if you don't know how it's going to?
Well, it's going to the PDDC, so if you look up the town PDDC, and you go to the website, you can see what is allowed inside that use.
Right.
So
That's what it is.
theoretically, anything that's allowed in that zone could go onto that property. The applicant is saying, I don't know, I just want to rezone it to make it potentially developable for any of those purposes.
Right.
And he might choose to develop it himself at some point in the future, sells property, any number of
reasons.
those things.
Is there a way to find out, I mean, I think I have an idea of where this is, but it's over 30 acres, which is significant to me, and I don't know in which direction it goes.
Well,
Broome County GIS. If you
GIS.
Google BC GIS, you'll find
Right.
one of the top links will take you to a landing page that'll have mapping information on it. Play around with it. You'll be able to find the property there. You'll see exactly where it is. It's like right over here,
Yep.
right? And so you'll be able to see exactly the parcel. You can look at the application that he's given you to find the tax map number and find it that way.
Now, would the county give us an opinion on it too?
They will, the 239 review.
So the 239 would give, we would get the stuff, it would get kicked to the county, they would give their recommendations or their opinions of it.
What is a 239?
It's the reference to the general municipal law section that requires referral to the county planning board for an advisory opinion on matters relating to zoning within the town.
The county, go ahead.
So then the town has to approve this, and then it goes to the county, and the county has to approve
Nope.
it as well?
Nope, the town does not approve it. The town introduces the law and schedules a public hearing, which then triggers the process. The town board will not consider it for approval until after the public hearing has been closed, comments have been received, and then it will be a yes or a no vote on the decision to rezone it.
And that, no, that includes, we do not take a vote. We'll have the county's opinion prior to the
opinion.
vote.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you, that's what I was trying to get to. Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Would the owner, being voted, have to pay any sort of increased tax or any fees?
Well,
for this?
yeah,
Or
that
does it
property
go
would,
from-
Yes.
yes,
You
yes.
can look down
Yes.
Front Street and see the value of all the commercial is substantially larger than what you purchased this property.
If it changes in use, the value goes up.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, and it goes up at that rate, not as farmland.
It would go from vacant agricultural
Right.
to vacant commercial property.
And at that time, he has to pay when you guys change the zoning or the next tax?
It would apply to the next tax year.
To the next
At the next
tax.
assessment.
Yeah, the next assessment. So,
And just for further clarification, before anything gets built there, there's a whole nother.
oh,
Yes.
there's tons of.
Absolutely.
There's, yeah.
Absolutely.
You just can't do it, you
Right.
still, it's just,
Just a planned
it's
district.
a plan.
Yes, all the plans still have to come forward. The process is still the same.
And one of the things, the issues that we have over the 60 years in the town is all the variances down through Front
Right.
Street, and the town law says that you gotta have 6 acres of land, and there's not one person that owns the 6 acres other than Northgate Plaza. So we've stifled ourselves. So,
How do you change that?
it's a big process. We're working on it. But we get bogged down with a sewer
Most
plant.
importantly, you're working on it.
We're trying.
I know there's a lot of things.
That's why I'm sitting here, because that was one of my pet peeves since I've lived here in this town. But we've been getting dragged down by,
Executive session.
we've been getting dragged down by sewer plants and everything else, so. Okay, anything else, folks? All right. Okay, yes, ma'am.
I just have a question, I'm curious what's being built across from Broxton.
Brats,
He's just doing clean fill.
across from Brotsman?
Oh,
At the
just
bottom of Broad,
where they're
Oh,
dumping.
on Route 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently they're dumping dirt in there. And if they don't go over an acre, I don't know all the rules.
Right.
DEC goes right by there all the time, so he's putting fill in there. Okay?
but you can confirm it's Taco Bell.
Oh,
We
down
finally
here,
did.
yes.
Taco Bell.
We
Yes.
finally got, yes, that started.
Yes.
So, okay?
Every mail in the room.
Yeah, and I've never ate there. Yes, sir.
Address the elephant in the room and all. Everyone, I'm Chris Bodick. Figured I might as well stand up and, wasn't gonna say anything, but, wanna speak up, introduce myself. Some of you guys know me, some of you guys don't. Born and raised out in Shenango. I haven't gone very far. I live a mile from where I grew up. I own a few properties around town in Shenango. My very first one was across the street in the town of Shenango, and I bought it out. It's a burned out house, actually. different things, so this is an opportunity for me to see what I can do, okay? My decisions down there right now are, you know, what kind of livestock I wanna run. And I know, I got 50 cows on my property, okay? I can bring them down here tomorrow if I want to. I don't want to, okay? I would love to do something with the property. It's a beautiful piece. I like to keep it up real nice. I can't say enough about it. It's got water, sewer, gas up front, so, and, you know, progress is everything. You know, what I see down Front Street is a lot of bad planning over the years, and a lot of poor progress. And unfortunately, the town is left with, yes, I probably have the most, you know, acreage wise, yeah, I got a chunk there that nothing has on Front Street, but it's years and years and years of bad planning. So my point is I'm not trying to hide, I'm not an out-of-town person. Call me. If you guys have ideas, pitch something to me, I'm all ears. I'm not here to you know, to be somebody spiteful or try to, I've done this town my whole life, so I'm all about, you know, ideas and what I can do for the town to better the town. So I'm all ears, make a phone call, shoot me an email. I'll be glad to give you my numbers and cards and answer any questions that y'all might have. Okay?
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Because we got some work we have to do. Okay.
Nope.
We got to go in, pardon? Okay. Thank you. You're welcome to stay, but we got to do some other business.
All right, make a motion to go into executive session.
I second.
For Darren?
Well, we get, all right.
Which one's quick?
You're having a motion to have 3 executive sessions.
Oh, you want me to do a whole thing?
Just do them all.
Okay. Motion to have 3 executive sessions.
Matters relating to an employee within the DPW, a second matter relating to an employee within the DPW, and a third matter relating to
Contract for,
the union contract for the highway and the grievance, right? And the grievance recently filed.
and we reserve the right to bring in Mr. Burden and Mr. Crock.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Yep,
Aye.
aye. How do you want to do it? You, Darren, which one's going first?
Probably Darren first.
Let's just get Darren over with.
Okay, let's go.
It's
Simonis. The board, Mr. Clerk, the board did take action in executive session. That's all to say on that, correct? All right. I see nobody to speak. I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.